Budget 2025 proposes to, quote, generally limit access to the Canada Student Grant for full-time students to students attending public educational institutions and not-for-profit private institutions. Could you please explain to us why the government is proposing to withdraw student grants from students attending most career colleges and other kinds of institutions that are private?
Well, thanks very much. In fact, most programs are currently ineligible through career colleges. Programs that are 2 years and under have been ineligible before. What we want to make sure is that the public money goes to public institutions, for one, and for two, that we can reduce the practice by some career colleges of extending programs from 2 years to 4 years so that students are eligible, and yet it takes them longer to graduate, sometimes without any further accreditation.
Thank you for your response, Minister. I guess I would say back that this money doesn't go to the institutions, it goes to the students. And there are programs like to become a chiropractor, to study traditional Chinese medicine, where there simply aren't very many, if at all, opportunities to study this at public institutions. So I don't think anyone's accusing those programs of being artificially extended. I mean, you can't become a chiropractor in 1 year of study, obviously. What would you say to a student who comes from a lower middle income background, aspires to one of these careers, recognizes there's demand for that career, and is concerned about the budget measures which say that they will no longer have access to grants that students studying at any university would have access to?
What I would say is that we are ensuring that students who need financial support continue to be able to do so. We are making sure that Canada Student Grants are available to students that need that. The minister will have an exemption.
Respectfully, Minister, you're not, though. Like I just gave you the example. You've got a low-income young person who says, I've always wanted to become a chiropractor. Through no fault of my own, the institutions that offer that course of study are organized in a certain way. And because of a change in this budget, I will no longer be eligible for student grants. You've got people that rely on the services that are provided by folks in this area. What would you say to them? Because you're clearly making a change that makes that student no longer eligible for grants that anybody else would be eligible for going to a different kind of program of study.
Well, I would say that if a profession is concerned about the changes in a circumstance where it's a very narrow circumstance like you're describing for chiropractic, that the minister does have an exemption authority, and I'm happy to work with the applicable programs. But I can say that what we do know is that there is a higher default rate for student loans for career colleges, that we have seen in some cases students graduating from 4-year programs that used to be 2-year programs, and that ultimately we believe that public funds should go to public institutions.
Yeah. Respectfully, Minister, I mean, my mother was trained as an occupational therapist. When she did it, it was an undergraduate program. Now it's a master's program. There are many, many, many university programs that used to be available for shorter durations of study or used to be available at the undergraduate level that are now master's programs. You're describing a phenomenon of extension of the requirements of getting certain credentials. I think that's an interesting issue to discuss, but it is clearly not an issue unique to the career college world. It's an issue that has been much discussed in the context of universities as well. And it seems to me that this budget has made a political choice to single out those students, and it's not a small number, those students pursuing particular vocational programs, and say you will no longer be eligible for these programs, even while anybody who studies at a university will still have access to those grants. Why are you singling out students pursuing programs that the government doesn't want to fund anymore for discrimination in the grant program?
I think the political choice that was on display for all Canadians to see was your party voting against $1.5 billion in student supports and youth supports. Canada student loan increase, interest forgiveness. The Conservative Party voted against students, voted against
That's
youth
just not
people
an answer, Minister.
time and again. And I think that's
I know
the
we
political
disagree, but can you
choice
answer the
on
question?
display
These
here.
are serious questions on behalf of students who will
Thank
be
you, Mr.
discriminated against by
Janus.
this policy. I do think there's a real disconnect between what you're saying and the reality of the policy. Now, our party has been pushing for increases in support for union training. And I'll mention as well, Polytechnics educate the majority of people in the skilled trades. Polytechnics Canada has called this budget a missed opportunity. They're wondering, I'm wondering, why did the government choose to put a whole bunch of new money into attracting foreign talent to universities, but chose to completely ignore, to leave out polytechnics? We have the attack on career colleges, but then also the complete absence of support for polytechnics. Why was that the choice made in this budget?
We have been working with educators of all different stripes for a number of years supporting education. In fact, our investment in research and education is unparalleled. And I will point out your party has voted against it every single time. I will also say that
I voted against the budget. Could you answer the question, though?
I would also say that it is important that we recognize the incredible value that unions have in skills training. And I mentioned part of that.
100% agree, and we'd been pushing for that long before you did it. But could you answer the question, please?
Why did you vote against it then? I'm really curious to know why you voted against the Canadian Building Trades Union, who celebrated this budget and said that it was a generational investment in the skilled trades.
Minister, I'm not going to play this game. I'm happy to justify my vote on the budget in the appropriate fora. This is your opportunity as a Minister of the Crown to answer important policy questions. Why were polytechnics that educate the majority of people in the skilled trades, why were they completely left out while significant new money was put into universities?
I think that our record on investing in post-secondary education both supports for individuals, as we've talked about, but also supports for research, science, and education.
But Minister, this is precisely the point, is that when you talk about post-secondary, you're only thinking about universities. And this is a big issue when we're dealing with the shortages in the skilled trades and the need for parity of esteem here. That whenever you think post-secondary, you think universities only. And I'm trying to ask you about polytechnics, about career colleges, and frankly, this budget is attacking and undermining support for those institutions. So specifically, not on post-secondary in general, but specifically on polytechnics, on career colleges, on where young people are gaining this vital vocational knowledge and experience. Why the decisions in this budget that move against those critical institutions and the students who go there?
One of the elements of the budget was an increase to student work placement, something that universities,
not
colleges,
my question,
and
Minister. My question is specifically about polytechnics and career colleges.
Right, and so polytechnics use student work placements extensively to support their students to make sure that they're gaining the skills that the employers need. I just want to read you this quote, though, from Leuna. Leuna welcomes the government's continued commitment
Minister,
to
I'm going to jump in because
union-led training and workforce.
I think this is revealing enough. You keep trying to go off in unrelated directions when I'm trying to ask you about polytechnics and career colleges.